Today I'm in Fort Dodge, Iowa, and I'm going to look at the connection between Hollywood, Eskimo Pies, and Errol Flynn. They all have a connection to this town of Fort Dodge. So come along with me. I'm at the Oakland Cemetery in Fort Dodge. And boy, this is a tough cemetery to navigate. This is just hill upon hill. I don't know how a funeral home would conduct a service out here because it's so hilly. But anyway, I'm here to visit Lili Damita's grave. And you can barely read this here, but this is her grave, and there's an actual picture of her. It's kind of faded and you can't see. She died in 1994. She was married to Errol Flynn, one of the most popular 1930s and 40s actors in Hollywood. And Errol Flynn was leaving his home area of Australia, and was actually on the run from the police because he had stole a bunch of jewelry from a rich lady in Australia. And so he took a boat and decided he was going to take a boat to the United States and go to Hollywood. It just so happened that on that boat was Lili Damita, and she was already an actress in France, and had been signed with, I forget which major studio it was, but she was a big player already in the Hollywood business. And she ended up meeting Errol Flynn on this boat. They hit it off. Before long, she got him introduced into the Hollywood scene, and Errol Flynn went on to become one of the biggest box office draws in Hollywood during that time frame. And Lili kind of dropped off the face of the map. They got married in 1935, and she basically quit doing pictures, and Errol Flynn went on to become the success that he was. Well, to me, this kind of gets a little convoluted a little bit, but anyway, they have a son in 1941 named Sean Flynn. Now, just to remember that name, they ended up getting divorced in 1942, and Lili is a scorned woman. I mean, she is relentless at for the rest of Errol Flynn's life. She took him to court almost yearly over a variety of claims, and I think Errol Flynn basically died penniless. But she was definitely an albatross around his neck, and she ended up having a house in West Palm Beach, Florida, and she met a guy named Alan Loomis. And this is Alan's grave right here. There's no death date on it, but I think he died in 1996. He was born in 1909. He was a retired dairyman from Fort Dodge, Iowa, and he got his fame in the production of Eskimo pies. He was in on the ground level of that illustrious treat and made a fortune at it. Well, Lili and him were married from 1962 to, I believe, 1983 or 82. They were married about 20 years. And it's kind of strange that Lili was divorced from Alan, and she died in 1994. You can actually see the 1994 there. She wasn't married to Alan at the time, but she's buried with him. And I don't know if she didn't have family that was around at all other than him. He was still alive at the time she died, so maybe he just took it upon himself to bury her here. She died from Alzheimer's. She was, didn't know who she was or didn't know anybody for a few years prior to her death. But to make this story even stranger, remember I told you they had a son named Sean. Well, Sean was a photojournalist, and in 1970, the Cambodians were having a civil war over there, and he went over there with another gentleman, I forget his name, Dana something, and they were doing some journalism and some photography, and they came up missing, and they were without a doubt killed over there, and their bodies were never found. But Lili spent the majority of her life after that point trying to locate and find her son's remains. And I think it was in 2010 they actually found some bones and did some DNA on it and thought that might be her son Sean, but it wasn't. So Lili Damita went to her grave not knowing where her son, how he died or where his body lay. Anyway, kind of a interesting thing to see the tie between Eskimo Pies, Hollywood, and Errol Flynn. Errol Flynn and Lili were the definite power couple in the early 30s of Hollywood. I'll include some pictures of them, and they were considered the Brad and Angelina Jolie of that era. So it's kind of neat to see this. This is the old Fort Dodge Creamery in Fort Dodge, Iowa. And this is where if you ate a Eskimo pie, it was made in this building. The Loomises ran this creamery, and I think they actually had a dairy called Rosedale Farms, and they were one of the premier manufacturers of the Eskimo pie sandwich. It was invented about an hour from this location, hour southwest. The name escapes me. I think it's Ottawa, Iowa. And it was originally called the Ice Cream Bar, and then it was changed to the name of Eskimo Pie. But this is where Alan Loomis had an empire of ice cream. And the tie to that, back to Hollywood, was that he ended up marrying the ex-wife of Errol Flynn. And this is where his empire originated from, in Fort Dodge, Iowa. Thank you so much for watching.